Hi everybody, welcome to episode number 72 of Driftless Knitting. My name is Jennifer. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Driftless Knitter, and you can find the podcast on Ravelry if you search for Driftless Knitting under the Groups tab. Welcome to another episode. I'm coming to you today from Cross Plains, Wisconsin, which is just west of Madison. It is a chilly, chilly day here. It's Monday, November 19th, the Monday before Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody who is in the United States. And to those of you who aren't, I guess it's just another week, that much closer to Christmas, which is very exciting. But yes, I want to say a special thank you to anyone who is watching the podcast for the first time. Thank you so much for checking out my podcast and giving it a chance. I really, really hope that you like the episode and that you come back for more. And if you have been a watcher of my podcast for a while now, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And yeah, I'm really glad to be back talking with you today about knitting, about yarn, about what I've been up to for the past 2 weeks, because yes, I did record 2 weeks ago. I am back 2 weeks later, and yeah, I'm really happy that I'm kind of on a regular schedule again. So it's good for me, it's good for you. It's just overall much better than filming sporadically across the month. So I have a little bit of fuzz on my face because I was looking at, I have some really fun yarn to show you at the end of the podcast, because I may have gone to Vogue Knitting Live in Minneapolis last weekend. Yeah, it's Monday, so technically last weekend was like yesterday, but I'm counting it the week before because Mondays are my weekend because I work on Saturdays, most Saturdays. So I know it's really confusing, but it's been just over a week since we got back from Vogue Knitting Live, and it was very fun. I totally forgot to tell you on the podcast last time, 2 weeks ago, that I was going to Vogue Knitting Live. I remembered after I'd uploaded the podcast, and I did like an Instagram story that was like, hey, by the way, I totally forgot to tell you this, but if you're there, look me up. And yeah, I totally forgot to mention anything. So anyway, I'll give you kind of a rundown of how that went. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time I've been to a Vogue event, a Vogue knitting event, in about 5 years, I think. I went to Chicago's Vogue Knitting Live in like 2013. Yeah, so it's been a while. And it was good to get back and to, see some vendors and meet some people. I'll talk more about it later, so just stay tuned for that. But yeah, I was squishing some of the yarn that I got, and some of it has some alpaca in it, and I think that got caught on my chapstick. Not that I was like, maybe I was burying my face in it, maybe. I just love my yarn, okay? And my hair is so fluffy today. I was just gonna say, I don't know what's going on with my bangs today, but we're just gonna roll with it, and hopefully this comes out to be a pretty cohesive episode. Yeah, I'm just sort of cuddled on the couch. I really feel like wrapping this blanket around me, but I'm not going to right now. I should have worn more knitwear. We have not been turning our heat on lately. Since it's gotten colder, we haven't turned our heat on at all yet this winter, which I know is crazy because we live in Wisconsin, and it's been in the high 20s, low 30s, and into the teens at night, and this is Fahrenheit. And yeah, it's been cold, but since our apartment is kind of weird, we only have one and a half outward facing walls. The rest of our walls are like interior walls because of the way our loft is set up. So it stays pretty warm in here, which is really, really nice. We're able to save on energy costs. But right now it's like 62 degrees in the apartment, and my fingers and my toes are a little chilly. I do have hand knit socks on, so that's good, but I tucked them up underneath me here on the couch because I'm a little chilly in here right now. but I don't want to turn our heat on. We have a very, I don't like our heating system. We have one unit downstairs set into the wall, and it doesn't get into the rest of the apartment very well. So even when we do have it running, it just isn't very efficient. So we just try to dress warm until it gets very, very cold, and then we'll start turning it on. But anyway, you did not come here to listen to me talk about my heater and the weather. Although, honestly, I find when podcasters talk about the weather, I find it really fascinating. I know that like UK people always joke about the fact that the weather is like everybody talks about the weather and is obsessed with the weather. So are Midwesterners. That's our favorite subject. We talk about the weather all the time and commiserate about it. We're happy about it together. I mean, literally the first thing you'll hear anybody say when they walk into a place is like, you know, something about a comment about the weather outside. And yeah, so it's not just UK, European, you know, that, yeah, us Midwesterns, we love it too. So, okay, I am going to, oh, where'd my other whip go? Oh, I left it on the table. Okay, hold on one second. I'm gonna go get my other work in progress, and then we will jump into the knitting content. Okay, I'm back. I have 2 works in progress to show you today. The first one, I'm not sure how far I was on this last week. 2 weeks ago, excuse me. I think I was just past the toe increases, but this is the socks that I'm working on. I did knit a lot of this, come to think of it, in the car on the way to and from Vogue Knitting a couple weeks ago. So I think I was just above the first repeat of the pattern that's on the front side of the sock. And yeah, I did the majority of the foot during, before, after Vogue. And then last night, actually, I just turned and did the heel. So this is a Fish Lips Kiss heel. This is the heel that I do on all of my socks. Apologies for my cord, that's just sort of curled up there. This is my favorite heel both to knit and to wear. I think that it fits my foot really, really well. And once you've done the Fish Lips Kiss a few times, it is really easy to memorize. You kind of get into the rhythm of it, and you can tell, like, you know, what's coming next, what you have to do next. It's, to me, it's very, I don't know, very clear, kind of what you have to do. It did take me a while. I had to look at the directions and the pictures that are included of the special stitch that you do instead of a wrap and turn. She has you do this other stitch that she calls a twin stitch. And I did have to look at the pictures on the pattern for the first few times I did it, but after that, yeah, now I can just sort of, I can come to it and I don't even have to look and remind myself of what to do. So, yeah, I like that in there. I am doing my socks toe up. I always do them toe up. I only have a few pairs of socks I've done cuff down. I am kind of planning on doing another couple pairs cuff down just because there's some patterns that I want to do that are written for cuff down, and while I could, you know, I could knit them toe up and just replace the stitch pattern on the foot onto one of my toe up socks, it is kind of fun to shake up your sock knitting every so often and do it in a way that you either haven't done it ever before or that you haven't done it in a long time. And it's been over a year since I've done a cuff down sock, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to do that, do a heel flap and gusset maybe, and yeah, and sort of, I don't know, make things interesting. But this one I did do toe up. I'm using size US 1 Addy lace needles, or Addy sock rockets, not lace. They do have the lace tips. Sorry, my light is shining off of them. They have the lace tips, but they have a really smooth finish. And these are my favorite needles to knit socks on. I love them. I have used like Chowgoo red lace before, and is that the only other one I've used? I swear I don't think I've ever used Hiya Hiyas or anything like that, or signatures. These are just the pair that I got a long time ago, and I love them a lot. So my go-to sock needles. And that's really about it that I have to tell you about this sock. You've already seen the first one, and I've talked about the pattern that I've done on it. I will get a good picture of, you can kind of see that. Every time I bring it close up to the light, it kind of blows it out, but this is a kind of a fun combination between a rib and a 1x1 cable, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, it kind of just gives this really cool, like, twisted look to the rib. And it doesn't really look too much like a cable because you're only doing one stitch. Yeah, it just sort of looks like it like twists. So anyway, this is one of my patterns that I've come up with. See, it just blows it out. I don't know. Yeah, that's about as good as I'm going to get it. This is a pattern that I've come up with, but I'm not sure when I'm gonna write it up or if I'm gonna have it for sale or what. This was just kind of a fun pattern that I decided to knit onto a pair of socks that I had started. I didn't really have any plans for them. I just wanted to have a pair of socks going, so I sort of fiddled around with a couple stitch patterns and then decided on this. It worked with my stitch count, so yeah, I might write up the chart and put the pattern on Ravelry, but I'm not exactly sure when. I'm almost done with the second one, so probably after that I'll put it together, and then maybe I have a couple friends who have knit up my other sock patterns. I have 2 sock patterns right now that are published on Ravelry. There is the fairy tree socks, which is a really fun one. I've knit 2 pairs of those. And then I have the afternoons in the library socks, which is also a really good one. That one has a little bit more of like an eyelet pattern to it, and that one's really fun as well. But I have a few friends who have test knit all of my sock patterns so far, and I know that they'd be willing to knit this pair up too if I ask them to. So maybe in a couple weeks I will do that. But I'm not really super focused on these right now. The only reason I was knitting on them last night is because I was at the farm with Seaver at his parents' farm, and he was there because this past weekend was the opening of deer hunting, of rifle deer hunting season, and he was there with a couple family friends and his brother, and they were hunting all weekend. He was very successful, and our freezer will be full this winter with meat, which is always the goal. Seaver is not a trophy hunter, and while I'm sure he would love the chance to get a buck, like a large buck, which is, you know, always the goal, right? He mostly hunts so that we can have fresh venison. And venison for us is our meat of choice. We will eat beef and obviously like chicken and stuff, but if we can substitute venison for anything, we will. We just know, and I know this is kind of a tricky subject for a lot of people. I know a lot of people don't want to hear about deer hunting, and they have kind of opinions on the whole culture, which I totally understand. But Seaver and his family are very conscientious of the environment, of the ecosystems on their farm, and unfortunately right now the deer population is through the roof, which really affects everything, not only the farmers because they're eating their crops quite literally, it also affects all the other ecosystems. The plant life gets pretty much devastated over the summer and fall, and it doesn't grow as well in the springtime then, like the flowers, the undergrowth, because there's too many deer that are eating it and not letting it, you know, pollinate and spread. And there's a lot of there's an issue with CWD, which is like a brain deterioration disease in deer, and right now they're saying that because the deer populations are so large in this area, it's spreading really fast. So there is a bit of an effort to control that. We, as humans, have taken out a lot of the deer's natural predators, as will happen when people come in and settle, and kind of the urban sprawl starts to happen. So because we've taken out the predators, there needs to be a way of controlling populations. So doing it ethically and doing it on your own land and legally, of course, is the best way to do that. So yes, all of that to say that Seaver had some really nice shots, and I'm not going to get into the details, of course, but they were one shot and done, which is really good, and he didn't waste any of the meat. So yeah, we got some really good meat for this winter, and I was, oh yeah, sock knitting. I was there yesterday when he was harvesting the meat, and he sent it off to get wrapped up and everything, but he did the harvesting himself. So I was out there in the shed with him, which was a little cold. I had a propane heater though that I could sit by, and every so often I'd have to warm up my hands because it was still cold even with the heater. I had like a snowsuit on to keep me warm and my winter boots on, but I was knitting on my sock, and I was able to knit the heel last night when I was hanging out with him. So yeah, it was cold. It was cold. And I wasn't 100% prepared to sit out there for that long with him, but it's okay. I didn't really get to see him much last week. It seemed like we were very busy going here and there, and yeah, so it was nice to hang out a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole story with that work in progress. And I promise I won't get on my soapbox again about anything. Okay, let's move on to my next work in progress, which you guys haven't seen yet. I cast this on, I think, a couple days after we got back from Vogue, so it was early last week, and I'm keeping this in my Harry Potter bag from Darn Yarn, Minnesota, Darn Yarn MN, and it's got that really cute kind of cartoony Harry Potter fabric on there. And this is one of her Peekaboo bags. This is her small Peekaboo, or like medium or something. I don't know if she makes them any smaller than this. I'm not exactly sure what you could use it for if it was smaller than that. Maybe a pair of socks, maybe it would fit that, but yeah, this is really great for most like shawl projects. I would say would fit pretty well in there. And I am using, let me get it out here. I'm using Madeline Tosh Merino Light. Oh boy. And this is from Deep Stash. I have had this skein of yarn for 7 years. I don't even know, 6 years, something like that. I don't even know what the name of it is. The tag was gone, but I did knit my, what sweater is it? The Stay the Same sweater by Vera Valimaki. It's in this pink color and then a gray color, because it's a two color sweater, obviously. And it's one of my favorite sweaters that I've ever made, and that I have, which is awesome. And I did the front part, the color, with this yarn, but it only took one skein. So I did have 2 skeins in my stash, so I had another skein that hadn't been touched. And I decided to wind this up and start a cowl for my mother-in-law. So this is going to be her Christmas present. And sometimes Julie watches this. So Julie, if you are watching, close your eyes just a second. And I won't do too much explaining so that you can keep the sound on, but I'll let you know when you can open your eyes, just as a precaution, because I do know there's been times where she has told me that she was able to watch an episode. She's a very busy person, but once in a while she's able to catch an episode. So if you're watching, please don't look. Thank you. Okay, so this is it. And this is something I'm just kind of putting it together. I'm not following a pattern. I'm making up my own. This is, oh, it's so curly. Okay, so this is a motif down here that is supposed to look like, well, do I want to say too much? Just in case she is watching. Well, oh well. It's supposed to look like a pine tree. This was my first go at it, and there's a few things I would change if I were to knit it again or knit another one. But it is spread out kind of evenly around the base of the cowl. Oh, that maybe was a little too high for you to see it, but I'm hoping once I block it, it'll spread out a little more. And I did put down the center, I put a purl stitch because I thought that would make it look, I don't know, more defined for like the trunk of the tree, but I think that was a mistake. I think I should have done a just a knit stitch, because it kind of, I don't know, it kind of folds in a little bit. I don't know if you can even really tell what I'm trying to show you. Anyway, it at least has the shape of like a pine tree. And then I'm just doing some little purl stitches spread out because I want it to look like snow. And I haven't decided what I'm going to do on the other end. If I'm going to do the pine trees again, but like the other direction so that it's mirroring this. That is kind of what I'm going towards, or I just end with the, I don't know, I'm thinking of doing that because then there isn't like a top or a bottom, and she can just put it around her neck whichever way. Because if I just keep going with like this sort of purl stitch snow, and then do the border, there's an obvious like bottom to it where the pine trees will be like upside down if it's put on the other way. So I don't know, I just kind of want it to be easy and reversible and pretty. So we'll see. I do want to have a hefty chunk of the stockinette with the purl stitches before I start another motif, or before I decide whether or not to start the other motif. So I have a little ways to go, but this has been kind of fun to work on. The chart, like following the chart and doing the pine tree motif at the bottom, did, you know, I had to kind of look at, I'd written out a chart and I had to look at that a little bit just to get the counts right, because I was spreading it out, you know, evenly. So I had to look at that a little bit, but then once I started this stockinette purl, I don't even know what to call that. It's like random purl bumps, but they're not really random. Anyway, you know what I mean. The stockinette with the purl stitches spread out throughout it. I just like fly with it. It's so easy now, and it's a great kind of mindless project that I can do whenever. Like when I'm podcasting. Oh no, did I lose a stitch? I did. Oh my gosh. While I was talking to you, one of the stitches escaped. That's okay. Let's get that sucker back on here. Well, I'm glad I was tempted to knit this because then I wouldn't have seen that. Okay, it's all better. All better. And now I'm just knitting in stockinette, which is easy and addicting. Okay, gonna stop. I'm stopping. I promise, because it is rude to be focused on that when you lovely people are here. watching my podcast. Okay, so those are my 2 whips. I didn't say what size needle I'm working on. I am knitting that on a size 4, a US 4, on a 32-inch cord, I want to say, and they are my Addy, like, sock rocket / lace interchangeable needles. So they go by different names because it's technically the long lace set if you're looking to purchase, but it has the finish and everything of the rockets if you buy the Addy needles in separate packaging. So yes, the more you know. All right, so let's move on to some finished objects. I do have a couple today, which I'm very proud of. I finished this, okay, last time I podcasted it on a Tuesday, and I told you this whole saga about a hat that I was knitting for my nephew that I had finished in the car on our way to an apple orchard, and I was so excited because I thought he'd be able to wear it that day, and it turns out it was tiny on him. And so I ripped it back, and I think I had it on the needles where I was going to start again, knitting, and I was able to finish that. So this is the Bonbon Hat by Tin Can Knits, and I knit this out of Renegade Unicorn, that's the colorway, from Knit Circus Yarns in our Ringmaster worsted base. And for those of you who don't know, I do knit for Knit Circus. I work for Knit Circus, and yeah, I love their yarns, our yarns. And this one's just really fun. This is one of our abstract techniques, I would say. It's not really a true variegated or hand paint yarn. It's not a true gradient yarn. It's like a combo. So what you get is you get these sections where you can see here at the beginning I had a lot of the cooler colors, well, a little bit of green, purple and blue. Then it moved into these really fun bright colors. So the green, the orange, the red, and then it moved back to cool colors. And as you can see, I was getting ready when I was doing my decreases at the very end. I would have kind of moved back into this part here. So it's like it sort of changes as you go, but it's still variegated. It's really complicated to try and describe, but it's really fun. And my nephew requested a hat with all the colors in it, so this is what he's getting, and I hope he's happy with it. He was happy when I showed him as I was knitting it, and he had fun kind of picking out all the colors and showing me where the yellow was and where the red was, and yeah, so that was really, really cute. And I get to see him on Thanksgiving, so I'm gonna give him this. I didn't really show you any details, but this pattern has a little cable right there. Again, it's kind of hard to see because of the colors, but it has a cable, and then it sort of just is this big sort of smooshy rib, really big rib up here, and then there's another cable right here at the top as you're doing the decreases, and then it ends. It was really fun. It went really, really fast, and I would recommend it, although I would say don't maybe go off of their measurements. It didn't seem like their measurements really took into account, I don't know, wearing it for warmth. When I tried the child, I mean, my nephew is only 2.5, and I knit him the child size, and it barely, going off of their measurements, it barely came up to the top of his ears. It was like a little like skull cap type thing, or a, what are those things called with the propeller on the top, but it just like sat on his head like this. And it just, he does have a kind of a big head, but still he's only 2.5. I feel like if you tried to knit the child size for, you know, like a 5-year-old, it would be just as bad or worse. So I did knit I kept the same stitch count because that seemed to fit him well, but I knit like an extra 2.5 inches maybe from what they told me to do, or I added 2.5 inches to the hat, yeah, total. So there's that, and we're on a theme right now. The next thing I have to show you, excitingly, is my Humboldt sweater for my nephew. Surprise, surprise. So last time I podcasted, I think I was at the arm, or the second sleeve, sorry, and I was just getting started on the second sleeve. Since then, I did manage to get that sleeve done. Then I picked up for actually I had to, after the sleeve was knit, I wet blocked it. They told me to wet block before I picked up for the button band and the collar, which I think actually really helped. This fabric, as you can see here, it's a lot of slip stitches, and I did, if you didn't watch the podcast last week, I did mess up on this pattern, so if you look at the Humboldt sweater on Ravelry, it's going to look a little different. I slipped all of the stitches in a row, and you were supposed to do like every other one so that it gave this kind of diamond pattern. And I totally read the pattern wrong, and it was my fault, not the pattern's fault. But I didn't want to rip it out because I was pretty much, I think I was done with most of the body at that point. And yeah, it was slightly depressing when I realized, and then I just got over it, and it's fine, and it's still squishy and warm, and it's gonna look so cute on him, so I don't care. But yes, so this sort of slip stitch fabric curled so badly and was so, it just sort of, the whole fabric like came in, and they did say in the pattern, you know, don't worry about the measurements unblocked because it will change dramatically when it's blocked. And that was so true. It just, when I blocked it, it just all opened up. It's so drapey now. It's beautiful. So I'm really hoping that this fits him. It's kind of hard now that he's growing all the time and getting older. I'm having a hard time like picturing him in this. This seems to be big enough, but sometimes kids can surprise you by how fast they grow. So I'm just sort of hoping. I mean, this looks like it'll fit a 2.5-year-old. Hopefully until, you know, springtime. So the only thing I have to do left is sew on buttons. But before that, I want to kind of block, sorry, I'm like covering my face, kind of block the collar and the button bands. They're just kind of scrunching up a little bit, but yeah, otherwise I'm really happy with this. It went quick. It only took me about 2 weeks to knit it, I think. No, 3 weeks. 3 weeks to knit it, I think, so that'll be a really good gift for him, and I'm looking forward to giving that to him on Christmas. I knit this sweater out of Barocco Ultra Wool, which is their 100% superwash wool. It's not a merino wool, but it's very, very soft, and it's like kind of a perfect combination of it. I don't know, like a woolier, it feels a little more rustic to me than a lot of the superwash merino wools that are out there. But it's also, especially once it's blocked, once you wet block it, it's just so soft and squishy. So I highly recommend this yarn. I like it much, 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 much better than Cascade 220 Superwash or Rowan, what is their worsted superwash yarn. We used to carry that at the yarn shop I was at before. Rowan, not Felted Tweed, that's another one. I can't remember, but it's a superwash worsted weight yarn, and this one, hands down, is my favorite out of all three. So yeah, if you're looking for a reasonably priced, good superwash worsted Barocco Ultra Wool. Okay, that is my works in progress and my FOs, and now we get to move on to some new yarn friends that I brought home from Vogue Knitting Live. Yarn friends and other goodies too. I'm gonna kind of do these in the order that I bought them, so hopefully I remember what order I bought them in. If not, it really doesn't matter, but I'm gonna kind of talk about my whole trip there, and then hopefully the new acquisitions will fit really nicely into my recap of Vogue Knitting Live. So yes, I did go to Minneapolis on Friday night, which was, I can't remember what date it was, but it was a week ago this past Friday. And I drove up with my boss and with a coworker of mine, and I was meeting my friend Lisa of Abacus Dye Works up there, and I was staying with her in her hotel room, and she taught 2 dyeing classes on Saturday, the Saturday of Vogue. Yeah, and I helped her with one of them. It was a very last minute thing because their dyeing instructor canceled a few days before Vogue Knitting Live, and Kelly, who I used to work for up in Winona, she has the yarn shop called Yarnology in Winona, Minnesota. She works, this is going to sound so complicated. Okay, she also works for Vogue on their event staff, so she will travel to Vogue Knitting Live in most places. She doesn't go to many of the West Coast ones, but she always goes to New York. She does the Midwest events, and she helps on their event staff. So she got in contact with Lisa, and she told the Vogue Knitting people that she knew of a indie dyer that was going to be there but wasn't vending, and maybe she would be interested in teaching the dyeing class. So Lisa had about 12 hours to get everything prepared, but she did, and she taught a class on Saturday morning and then Saturday afternoon. I helped her out with Saturday afternoon, and I also helped her get everything ready for it Friday night. So I got to Minneapolis, I brought my stuff up to our room, and then right after that we went out to dinner. We went to an awesome restaurant. Oh my god, it was so good. It was called The Newsroom, and it's downtown Minneapolis, kind of near the convention center, which is where Vogue Knitting was. And I had the most amazing like stir-fry steak thing. Oh my god, the steak was so good. I mean, it literally like melted in my mouth. It was so good. Anyway, my mouth is starting to water just talking about it. But so we went to dinner. That was really fun, just kind of a good kickoff. There's a group of 7 of us, I think, that went. And we just walked the skyways. If you guys are familiar with Minneapolis, you know there's this cool network of skyways between some of the bigger buildings, and you can get fairly far using the skyways, which is awesome, especially because it was like 25 degrees that night and we didn't really have to go outside too much, so that was good. But after that, we went back to the hotel, and Lisa and I were preparing for her class the next day. We were tying skeins, we were soaking skeins. We had 40 skeins? Close to 40 skeins in our bathtub in the hotel, soaking, getting ready for that. And then we were mixing dyes. She had already mixed a lot of them, but we were making more. She thought, there's a couple that she, thought she would need more of, which it turns out she was correct. So we were mixing extra, testing out the colors, making sure they were strong enough, all that fun stuff, all in our like hotel bathroom. It was kind of ridiculous and hilarious, but it was fun. We did kind of get to bed late because of that, but we managed to get a little bit of sleep. And then the next day she got up early and went down to get ready for her class. Oh my gosh, I'm talking a lot and I'm tripping over my words. Anyway, and I got to kind of sleep in a little bit and then get ready and go down to meet my coworkers for the marketplace. So we went into the market, we had coffee and breakfast and stuff like that, and then we went into the marketplace, and the first thing that we stopped and looked at was Jenny the Potter. And I really like Jenny the Potter. I know a lot of you have probably heard of her stuff too. She's actually from the Minneapolis area, and she just opened a new studio, I believe, which is really exciting. And there's so many things I wanted there. Her mugs are amazing. She has these sheet mugs that are just so freaking cute. Her stitch markers, she does like clay stitch markers that are like that big, and they have like hand, I don't, not etched, but like hand painted and stuff with the glaze. Yeah, you know what I mean. She has those stitch markers, she has pins, she has other really fun things, and I saw this and I couldn't pass it up. I was getting in the holiday spirit and I just needed to buy this. So this is an ornament, and this will go on my tree, and I know that the light is not gonna show you, yep, see all the details, but see those snowflakes on there, and then there's gold, like, oh, just this gilt paint around the mittens and the heart, and it's just so pretty. Oh, it's so pretty. I love it. So I had to get that. And then Jenny the Potter also was carrying my favorite candles. And these are Frostbeard Candles. And they're Book Lovers Soy Candles by Frostbeard Studio. They do candles based on books and characters and other just really kind of nerdy things, I guess. And I love them so much. I have 2 brand new ones. It's not one that's burning right now. That's kind of just a regular Walmart candle, I think, maybe. Anyway, but I have 2 other candles that I'm waiting to burn, and then I had to get this one because it is almost the holiday season, and of course this is gonna, can you read that? I think you can read that now. Christmas at the Great Hall. It's Harry Potter. It's Harry Potter inspired. Oh my god. And it smells so good. This is Christmas in a jar, people. This is all I need. And I love it so much. So I hadn't had this one before. I never smelled it. Oh, it's so good. It has mistletoe, ginger, and hollyberry are the scents. Yeah, and it is just, it's maybe one of my favorites that I've smelled of theirs, and I just want to keep sticking my nose in here because it just smells like Christmas in a jar. That's what it is, Christmas in a jar. So if you need some Christmas at the Great Hall, in the Great Hall, I was like, I'm messing that up somehow. Yeah, you should order this because it is absolutely fantastic. Okay, what is, let's see. I'm trying to remember what came after that. So, what did I do after that? Looked around, shopped around, met up with Kelly. Kelly was there. Talked with her for a while, which was really fun. Oh, and then we watched the Vogue fashion show, which was cool. And I sat in it on my sock. I was working on that sock I showed you before. And then I had to, pretty quick after that, I had to go eat lunch and go help Lisa. So, yeah, so I ate lunch, and then I think I went back, before I went to help Lisa, I think I went back to Stephen B's booth. And there's a lot in his booth that I was looking at. He doesn't really do any, like, they don't have their own yarn line at Stephen B's, but they carry a lot of really unique indie dyers, and a couple of them that I saw were, I'm gonna say this wrong, but Chang Fibers, I think is how you pronounce it. It's Q-I-N-G Fibers. Stephen West loves Chang Fibers, and I've heard him talk about it a lot with a lot of his new projects. I was really tempted by a couple skeins of that. And then, what was the other one I was looking at? Oh, I can't remember. I almost got the one I can't think of. Anyway, I then saw these, and this is from Garn Stories. Garn Stories, right? Yes. And this is an indie dyer out of Germany, and her yarn is kind of hard to come by in person, especially in the United States. So I've heard. I haven't seen it ever before, but I've heard a lot about it, and I'm just kind of assuming, and I've heard from other people that it's hard to find, and since I haven't ever seen it in a yarn shop here, I believe them. So this is what I got. I saw this beautiful, it's a dark navy. As you can see there, that's actually a pretty good representation. It's a dark navy with like charcoal-y and brown mixed in. But then what I loved was this rich gold, kind of ochre gold with, this is almost like a maroon, like a really deep russet maroon. And that combination I just thought was incredibly beautiful. And I picked one up, and then I'm like, you know, what if I wanted to do like a big something? I obviously need two. So I found a second one and I bought them both. Yay! So that was my first yarn purchase. And this, I actually never looked at the name of this yarn until right now. The colorway name is 7 Rainy Days. And this is, I believe, 100% superwash merino. Yeah. And there are 366 meters, which I'm not so good at my meters to yards conversion, but I'm guessing that's just over 400 yards. Most 100-gram skeins are, so I'm not too worried. And I don't think she has, oh, it's just like a merino single? Yes, that's the name of the yarn. Merino singles in her 7 Rainy Days colorway. Isn't that gorgeous? I love how rich that is. So pretty. It even has a little bit of like this greenish tint where the blue and the yellow mix. I love that. I can't wait to see how this knits up. I'll probably have to like alternate skeins though, because they are slightly different. Like the first one I just showed you has more light in it, or maybe it's this one. No, I guess they both do. See that like light blue in there too. So yay, I am so happy to have this. I'm happy that it's a dyer I've never used before and really have never seen before, which is awesome. Definitely heard of her though. So okay, so that was my first yarn purchase. Let's go into, what else do I have in here? Oh yeah, okay. Okay, so let's talk about this one next. This is also a new to me indie dyer. This is from Eternity Ranch Knits. And this is a beautiful skein of fingering weight as well. I think it's a 75-20, oh, it's an 80-20 merino nylon, also superwash. And I had to get this. I like the colors. They're very kind of earthy and floral, and I think that they're beautiful. This might be a fun like pair of summery socks, maybe knitting with it in the summer. But I knew I had to get it when I turned the label, and again, apologies for the lighting, but do you see what that says there? It says Little Women. And I saw that, and then I turned it again, and I saw the name of the colorway, and that says Beth. And then I looked at all of the ones in that area, and they were all characters from Little Women, which Little Women is probably my favorite movie. The 1994 version with Winona Ryder. I don't care what anyone says about Winona Ryder. She's always Jo March for me, and I will always love her for that. So, yeah, I love that movie. My sister and I can quote that movie and, like, reenact the whole thing if we wanted to, which oftentimes we do. So, you know, we're just cool like that. And my sister is kind of an amateur Louisa May Alcott expert in a way. She has done so much research on her, and it's really her. Louisa May Alcott's one of my sister's probably biggest passions. She has read every single biography probably and book by her, and yeah, she is just kind of obsessed in a good way. And I actually collect, or I did it for a long time, I collected copies of Little Women, and it's just a really special story to me and to my sister, and because of that, yeah, it's just really special. So when I saw this, I knew I had to get a skein of the Little Women collection, and Beth was always the character that I most, like, related to. She is a little bit timid and really, really sweet, and I always had a shyness. I still am quite shy in certain circumstances and situations, and I just kind of always, my heart always went out to Beth. And yeah, no, I'm sure everybody knows the plot of Little Women, no spoilers, but you know, Beth doesn't have it very easy throughout that book. And yeah, she always just, yeah, I always thought I'd be friends with Beth. So I decided to get the Beth colorway, which totally looks like her. I totally see Beth wearing these colors. So she had a Jo skein, Meg, Marmee, Beth, Amy. So the four girls and then Marmee, and I think that was it for now. She said that she was wanting to do a skein, a Lori skein, and maybe a couple others, but she just didn't have time before the show. So Eternity Ranch Knits is where that came from, and she does a lot of different, like, fandom yarns too. Disney, I think I saw some Harry Potter, and some other kind of, you know, fun fandom yarns. So go check her out. She's very, very sweet. I can't remember where they are out of. I can't remember, but yeah, it was really nice to meet her and to get some of her yarn. I'm very excited about that. So the next thing I'll talk about is, let's see, this fun thing. Okay, so I love Knit Bob Purl. This is their, so it's Knit Bob Purl, all one word. They do the funniest illustrations of sheep and like puns on sayings and characters, and they turn them into like sheep and knitting related. Just so funny. I have a couple of the ones that they did with like Shakespeare characters. They're like cards. I want to frame them someday and put them, when I have a knitting room / studio, I'm going to frame them and put them there. They do like, oh, they're so funny. There's one that says bod to the bone, and it's a sheep on a motorcycle, and like bad to the bone. There's another one where it's Lady Baba instead of Lady Gaga, and she's like it's a sheep and she's all covered in like yarn balls. You know how Lady Gaga does those like crazy outfits. What are some other ones? Anyway, go look. They're hilarious. But this is a wine glass. This is their stemless wine glasses. They have maybe 4 or 5 of these, all with different sayings on it. But this one says 3 sheeps to the wind, and let's see if I can. It's it barely shows up even on the wine glass, and then you can, on the picture, you can probably barely see it. But it's like one, two, three sheep that are like flying in the wind, and yeah, 3 sheeps to the wind. Haha, because it's a wine glass. Funny. This is going to be a Christmas gift for my aunt, for my Tante Margie. I picked her name again this year. I picked her name last year too, which works because she's a knitter, but she also loves wine. So I think I'm going to do kind of a combo gift. I'm going to do the wine glass and maybe a gift card to, I'm going to talk to my cousin and see if there's a place where they like to go, like either a brewery or a winery or something where they like to get wine, and maybe do a gift card there, and then maybe throw in a little something knitting related, because at that point I think I'll reach my quota of what we're supposed to spend on each other. But I thought that was really fun because it kind of combines it with the sheep and then the wine glass, and I think she'll really get a kick out of that. She's got a pretty good sense of humor, so yeah, that was really fun. But I'm always tempted to buy all of their stuff. They have mugs and t-shirts and note cards and Christmas cards with different kind of yarny things on them. They're just so fun. There's even a couple of children's books that the illustrator and the owner of Bob Purl has done. And yeah, she's just so creative. They're so creative. There's even little onesies and like kids t-shirts. Oh my god, so cute. They're so cute. You really have to go check out Bob Purl. And they're at like most festivals, honestly. I think I've seen them at every single yarn festival I've been to. So just keep your eye out if you're at one, and you might see them. Okay, so the next thing is, and I'm going a little out of order. Actually, let me talk about this quick, because then that will finish my Saturday purchases. So this last thing is, okay, so that will finish my Saturday purchases, and then we'll move on to Sunday. I just got a couple of things on Sunday. I wasn't planning to, but you know how these things go. So this I got from Long Island Livestock. Again, she's at like pretty much every festival, but this is her, there we go. This is part of her skincare collection, and it is made with 100% pure lanolin from sheep, of course. And also, let's see, it has lanolin, shea butter, jojoba oil. I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's how I always say it, but I don't think it's correct. And essential oils. They're out of New York State. And yeah, 100% natural lanolin salve, carries healing properties, deep into dry, cracked, or damaged skin, best kept cool. Yeah. Yes, so this is her, what do they call it? The shepherdess salve? Salve, I think is how you say that. And this stuff is amazing. It is so good. I got the almond honey almond scent. This is what it looks like. We've been using it, as you can see. It is so good. Lisa got the pure lanolin, the unscented, and it just smells so woolly and sheepy. She is an owner of a flock of sheep, a small flock of sheep. Lisa is, and so that scent to her just reminds her of home and being in the barn and going to see her sheep, mostly in the summertime, because in the wintertime she coats them. So she was saying that like she misses the smell of the lanolin because, you know, she can't dig her fingers into the fleeces right now because they're all coated. But I did get the honey almond scent, even though I do really like the smell of lanolin and sheep. I think it smells amazing. But this kind of gives it a nice like overtone of the like almond scent. And then after that almond scent kind of fades away a little bit, then you can smell the lanolin. And it's so good. So good. This has my hands feel so good because of this. I will put it on at night and I'll let it sit overnight. It is greasy, of course, so I don't usually put it on like in the morning when I'm going to work or doing other things and handling things, because it will transfer the grease. So I just put it on at night, I let it sit, I fall asleep, and in the morning my hands are so soft. So soft. And Seaver I showed it to him and he thought it was so cool. He tried it and he has super rough callousy hands just from working outside all the time, and he really likes using it. He was actually using it more than I expected him to. So I'm like, oh man, like I'm not running out. There's plenty in here because you really don't need that much. But it's going a little faster than I thought it would. But the good thing is that I'm okay. I sometimes get caught up with saving really special things. I find something that I like or that, you know, is I don't know, really special and unique, and I don't want to use it. I don't want to have it be gone. And I'm just telling myself, you know, this is something that not only is healthy for our skin and good and natural, but it's also supporting a small business. I mean, all of this is supporting a small business, but especially things like this, I will buy this over and over and over again. We run out of this one, I'm just going to order more. I mean, it's one of those things that I think is really, I don't know, really important to have. And yeah, I can get it on their website. It's LIL Livestock, right? Long Island. Oh no, just LILivestockco.com for Long Island Livestock. So yeah, I'll maybe put that down at the bottom. I'm assuming that you can order these online. I forgot to grab that. I also did get some soap from them, and it does have lanolin in it as well, so I can't wait to use that one. But yeah, this healing salve is so good. I always pause when I say that word because it just doesn't sound right. Salve. I always want to put the L in there, but I'm pretty sure that's silent. I'm just like making sure you get a good, because if I go like that, then it totally blows out. Making sure you get a good look at that front sticker there. Oh, it's so good. So good. Okay, so that wraps up Saturday. Now let's move on to Sunday. I wasn't really planning on buying much. I did want to take a look at one other booth because I'm planning on knitting a sweater maybe this upcoming year, and I already know what yarn I wanted in. I didn't buy it over the weekend, but I'm gonna order it when the time comes. So I wanted to make sure I had those colorway names down. I took pictures of the yarn, and I will be able to order that yarn when I'm ready. But then we kind of took another turn around the room, and we happened to go back to the Three Irish Girls booth. And the Three Irish Girls were selling Daisy Girl and Company bags. And I had seen a bag the day before that I really, really wanted, and I didn't buy it. And I thought to myself, if I come back and it's still there, then I will seriously consider it. And it was still there. And so I bought it, naturally. This is my new Daisy Girl bag, and I'm so excited because I've never had a Daisy Girl and Company bag. And she also does these Peekaboo window bags. Although this one is wider, longer than my Darn Yarn bag, as you can see. And the opening is bigger, so I'm going to be able to get a larger project in here. And I could not pass this by because look at that fabric. Let me turn it around so you can see it better. It's farm fabric. Heck yes. I cannot pass up a farm fabric. You guys should know this about me by now. And I kind of like how it's like, I don't know, it's like a little girly, and I'm not like a girly girl. But I think it's cute how it's like pinky and purpley, but it's still like farm. It's really cute, isn't it? So yes, this is my Daisy Girl bag. I'm so excited, and I do not regret it one bit. I'm trying to think if there's any other info that you need. DaisyGirlAndCompany.com. She's on Instagram, Facebook, email. She has an Etsy shop. Go check out her bags because they're awesome. And then the last thing that I got on Sunday, let me get all the pieces out here. Oh yeah, and then I have one other thing, but I didn't buy this. Okay. So the last thing that I got on Sunday was from the Taproot booth. And I had looked at the Taproot booth the day before. I was really excited to see them because I have seen a lot about Taproot. I've seen their magazine before in like the co-op and things like that, but I've never bought it. I've never subscribed or anything like that. Oh, it's just so beautiful. And now I'm paging through it again like, I need to read this. I need to read it cover to cover. So they were selling a lot of different things. They were selling single copies of their magazines. They were selling note cards and beautiful prints from different covers that they've had, which those were so hard to pass up on. I wanted a few of them very badly. They were selling calendars with artwork from different contributors, and they were also selling kits, knitting kits. And like I said, I kind of looked at a few of them, and I saw they were in these cute little canvas bags. I actually really wanted the bag. I asked if they were selling those separately, and she said no, not at the moment, but you know, they probably would be, so you know, keep my eye out on their website or whatever. So I was like, okay, sounds good. And they were one of the first booths in the marketplace that I stopped at on Saturday. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna look around, and then you know, hopefully I'll be back. And I just didn't make it back to their booth on Saturday, but Sunday we walked by, and my coworkers kind of wanted to check it out, so I stopped with them, and I was looking at the yarn kits again, and they were for different projects that were in the Taproot magazines, that were published in the Taproot magazines, and they had the yarn, the magazine, and a bag. And just kind of curious as to which kits were available, and I looked inside one of them, and I'm still like geeking out over this so hardcore. I saw this tag. This is from Wing and a Prayer Farm, and I don't know why this gets me so emotional. I got really emotional in the booth too when I was talking to them about this, but I have been following Wing and a Prayer Farm, and the owner of Wing and a Prayer Farm is named Tammy, and Tammy lives in Vermont, and she owns this amazing farm. She has a huge flock of sheep. She has donkeys, horses, I think, or ponies, chickens, geese, ducks, pigs, everything, dogs, and I have just been captivated by Tammy and her life and the work that she's doing in Vermont. I'm so impressed that she is a one-woman show pretty much. Like, she has people that come and help her. She has, I think, a couple kids that come and stay with her either over the summer, you know, when they're home from school, or yeah, just, you know, different friends in the neighborhood that come and help her out. But mostly it's just her, and she just seems like she is such, I don't know, she's such a hard worker. She's not afraid to, you know, she's not afraid to work hard and to get dirty, and she does it all, it seems like, with the biggest heart, and she's just so inspiring. And as someone who someday wants to have, you know, a farm or a farmette, I want to have a fiber flock. I want to, I don't know, I want to maybe someday produce my own and just, I don't know, I have dreams of kind of making that into a viable sort of business, and seeing her in the process of it or having done it is just so inspiring. So yeah, like I said, I've been following her on Instagram and watching her stories and videos and seeing her posts for a couple of years now. And I saw this tag and I got so excited because this is yarn from her farm. This is from the farm, and this is Hayden and Olivia. It's 148 yards. It is a combination of wool and alpaca, so it's from two different animals, hence the Hayden and Olivia. And yeah, it's I think a DK weight is what they're saying. Yeah, a DK to worsted weight. Hand wash, you know, obviously it's mill spun, but it's just this gorgeous natural brown color. And the kit came with two, because the project that they have, that they recommend, or not recommend, but that is included in the kit. There's some really beautiful articles in this magazine. Let's see if I can find the pattern here. Pretty sure it's toward the back, but oh, there it is. So this is called the Taproot Cowl, and it's by Beatrice Perrin Dolan. And this is it. It's just a nice, kind of simple, beautiful cowl. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to knit that cowl with it, but it's enough for any type of a project of that size. So I'm just going to kind of keep my options open. But I just, in that moment, I picked it up. It was all in this cute canvas bag, which this is the bag I had inquired about and asked about, because I really wanted, I just wanted the bag because I think that picture on there is just adorable. And then it turns out that I just bought the whole kit. So, but yeah, I picked this up and I had it like squashed to my chest, and I was like, I don't think I can let this go. I don't think I can put this back on the shelf. And they're like, my friends are like, okay, then buy it. I'm like, yep, I need to do that. I wasn't planning on buying that much, but I just couldn't let this go. So this is probably my favorite purchase of the weekend, even though all of my purchases are amazing. I just feel like this has such a, I don't know, just such a story behind it, at least for me. I feel like this is very special. So yay. So that was my Taproot purchase. I'm so excited that they were there. I'm so excited that I got some of Tammy's yarn. All in all, it was perfect. So the last thing was not a purchase of mine, but it is some yarn that I came home with, and this was a thank you gift from Lisa of Abacus Dye Works, who like I said before, I helped her with her class. It was really fun. It was a 3-hour class, and everybody got to dye a skein of yarn. She talked about color theory and technique a little bit, and then about different types of dyeing. They weren't doing any immersion dyeing or anything like that. They were doing hand painting, just because it works out way better to do that in a conference room, like in a hotel, which is where we were. So we had like all the dyes mixed up in these jugs, and then we had a microwave where we were setting the yarn with the heat from the microwave, and we had hot water from a electric tea kettle that we were using. So it was kind of a slapdash sort of a thing, but I think everybody had a lot of fun, and I was running around kind of being the helping people with things, but then microwaving their yarn while Lisa kept kind of talking and doing her lecture portion of it, because we did the first part of it kind of where they were dyeing the yarn, and then the second part of it while I was microwaving and getting everything taken care of. She was kind of doing more lecturing. So anyway, to thank me for that, Lisa gave me this amazing skein of yarn. Isn't that just so cool? seeing it in the camera, I'm like, whoa. Oh my gosh. So she brought yarn in as examples of kind of the different techniques that she does, and she used this to talk about like doing speckling and variegation and like a base coat of dye, which this has, I don't know if you can tell, but this has kind of a base coat of like a creamy brownish tannish yellow, and then all the other bright colors are on top of that. So yeah, so I was admiring this, and then when we got back to the hotel room, she told me I could take it as a thank you present. So thank you, Lisa. And that is her card there. And this one is called Land of the Sweets, I think. It's on her balance sock, which is an 80/20 superwash merino and nylon. It's 400 yards, and it's like a 2-ply, a really squishy, beautiful 2-ply, and I can't get over how fun that is. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm not a huge, like, bright color person, but I think this is just so cool. Oh, my light keeps going out. Okay, it must be running out of battery, so we're gonna just roll with it because I'm almost done here anyway. But yeah, so that is all of the yarn purchases that I made and that were given to me over the weekend of Vogue Knitting Live. I'm trying to think if, oh, Saturday night we went out to another restaurant, and that was called The Local, which is an Irish pub. It was really good as well. We had some really good food. And went back to the hotel and slept. I meant to do some knitting, but Lisa and I got to talking, and we talked for an hour or so, which I should have been knitting at the same time, but that's okay. We were just catching up, and sometimes, yeah, you don't think about that when you're catching up with a friend. So we talked for a while, and then it was just late and we were tired, and it had been such a long day, so we went to bed not having done any knitting, which is so sad. And then Sunday we went back to the marketplace. Lisa had left earlier than me because she had to meet up for breakfast with some people, and I did one last lap of the marketplace, and then we headed home back to Wisconsin. So it was all in all a really great trip. It was really fun, and I'm glad I got back to a Vogue knitting event. And hopefully I really want to go to Vogue Knitting New York. I think that would be just the coolest thing. Not 100% sure if that's going to happen. Definitely not this upcoming one in January. Maybe a year from January, but again, I'm not 100% sure. It's just kind of a dream at this point, but that would be really, really cool. So, okay, I think it is time to move on. Ooh, I have one last thing to talk to you about. So the last time I podcasted, I meant to announce a special, amazing, fun giveaway, and I totally forgot. Just like I totally forgot to tell you that I was going to Vogue Knitting Live in Minneapolis. So I reached 500 subscribers here on YouTube. I'm actually past 500. I got to about 560, which is amazing. Thank you all so much to those of you who have subscribed and are the newbies here on my channel. But I want to say thank you. So I'm going to do a giveaway here on YouTube. I'm really excited. This is the first giveaway I've ever done on YouTube. So we'll see how it goes. But I basically want to give away a skein of yarn, which I'll show you in just a second. And yeah, I'm going to have you, let's see. How about okay, so you're watching my podcast, obviously, but I want to know what your other favorite podcasts are, knitting podcasts. So if you want to put one down, another knitting podcast that you watch, or, you know, as many as you want, or if you don't watch any other knitting podcasts, which I don't know why you wouldn't if you're watching mine, but if you don't, that's cool. Maybe put down one that's not a knitting podcast. If you listen to a history podcast, which I am obsessed with a couple history podcasts on my my Apple, what is it, Apple Podcast now, I think it's called. Yeah, anyway, it used to be like the iTunes, or anyway, now it's Apple Podcasts. But yeah, so if you have a favorite podcast that you listen to or that you watch, put down which one it is, and yeah, I think that'd be just kind of fun. I'm always looking for new podcasts to watch, and yeah, I want to know kind of what your other favorites are. Not saying that mine is one of your favorites, but you know, if you're watching, thank you. And yeah. So the skein of yarn that I want to give away today is a special one that was donated by, again, Lisa of Abacus Dye Works. At the time she donated it, she was already Abacus Dye Works, but she used to be called Three Sisters Fiber Company. And sorry, I'm a little out of breath. I had to run upstairs really fast and get this because I'd forgotten it in my basket upstairs. So anyway, so this is her card. Used to be her card, Three Sisters Fiber Company, and now, of course, she is Abacus Dye Works. Same amazing dyer, different name. And she gave me this yarn to be used as a giveaway someday, and I think it'd be really fun to do this as my 500 subscriber giveaway. So this is just a beautiful worsted weight. I think it's worsted. Yes. 218 yards of 100% superwash merino, washed gently in cold water, 8-ply worsted. So this is just a beautiful fall colorway, and since it kind of is still fall, even though it looks more like winter out there. Oh, look, there's someone on the walking path outside. So this is a colorway called Hayride, and it's just, I mean, you can see all those beautiful fall tones in there. So gorgeous. So yeah, so I'm going to give away this skein of yarn to a randomly chosen person who comments in the comments below. So make sure you do that. This is going to probably, I'll end it when I podcast next. So in 2 weeks, when I should be podcasting again, I will choose randomly from those comments. So you're able to comment up until then. And yeah, hopefully you win this amazing skein of beautiful yarn. So thank you all so much for watching today. I am so glad I was able to get on here and podcast and chat with you a little bit and show off all of my goodies from Vogue. I really hope that you're all having a great week. Have a happy Thanksgiving if you are watching this in the United States and it is before Thanksgiving. And have happy holidays in the days to come. Keep knitting, keep doing things that make your heart happy, and I will be doing the same. Thanks again. Bye.